Welcome Back to the Feature, where I watch the full movie so you don't have to. I'm your host, Dwayne, and today we're looking back to 1993 with Kurt Russell starring in Tombstone as Wyatt Earp, covering his time after leaving Dodge City. The movie opens by telling us how a bunch of guys started wearing red sashes and formed a gang called the Cowboys. Their leader, Curly Bill, and his gang crash a wedding in Mexico and slaughter the Mexican police that were attending. The groom is the last to die in the brutal massacre. Johnny Ringo commits the ultimate sin when he kills a defenseless priest. Knowing that Johnny is an educated man, Curly Bill asks him what the priest had been going on about. He explains that he was quoting the book of Revelations with,
"Behold, a pale horse. The man who sat on him was death, and hell followed with him."
And that is the biblical introduction to Wyatt Earp arriving in Tucson, Arizona. The infamous lawman is retired now and just there to reunite with his brothers Virgil and Morgan with the dream of getting rich without having to get shot at anymore. The Earp brothers take a moment to stand with their wives, thinking that nothing but happy times are ahead. Little do they know the total shitstorm of trouble waiting for them in Tombstone. We then meet Doc Holliday. He's coughing from his tuberculosis, drinking, gambling, and humiliating Ed Bailey at the card table until Bailey loses his temper and reaches for a gun. Doc stays cool and way too amused with himself, which shows that even damn near half dead, he's still the most dangerous person in the room. Having put the Bailey threat to rest means it's time to move along to the next town. His ride-or-die Kate gathers up his winnings and they walk out the front door unchallenged. The Earps arrive in Tombstone and it's everything they thought it would be. It's big, booming with lots of people and excitement. They meet the local sheriff who gives them the down low on the Cowboys and the opportunities available to make some money. The sheriff points out that the Oriental is the one saloon no one likes to go into because it's basically a slaughterhouse. That's all Wyatt needed to hear. And just like that, he's headed in to check it out. The place is kind of dead because Johnny Tyler has taken over as the only dealer and he's as corrupt and abusive as they come. Wyatt gets in Tyler's face and smacks him hard. Then he smacks him again. Poor Tyler's running out of cheeks to turn, so Wyatt smacks him a third time. Tyler literally has no response. With Tyler thrown out, Wyatt takes over as dealer of the Oriental, and just like that, he's laid his stake in Tombstone. He steps outside to give the good news to his brothers when Johnny Tyler shows up with a shotgun. Before things get ugly, Doc shows up and Johnny instantly rolls over like a puppy. Wyatt and Doc reunite, and right away you can tell their friendship is made up of equal parts loyalty, sarcasm, and the shared knowledge that normal men do not survive long around either one of them. A stagecoach arrives carrying a theater troupe led by the beautiful Josephine Marcus. Wyatt notices her, she notices him, and just like that, his already complicated life is about to get even more complicated. It's a night at the theater, and Josephine and her people put on a show that brings everyone out on the town. The Earps are there with their wives, and the drunk and rowdy Cowboys even came out to get some culture. By the end of the show, Wyatt finds himself in a bind. He takes special notice of Josephine on stage, and his wife Maddie takes notice. I told you his life was going to get more complicated. Doc knows it too, as he kind of eggs on Wyatt about it. The Oriental has turned into a popular place and everyone is having a great time. That is until the Cowboys come in. They make their way to Wyatt's table and Ringo decides to have a battle of wits and showmanship with Doc Holliday. Doc and Ringo size each other up by quoting some Latin and giving each other a death stare. Ringo has a reputation as the deadliest gun around, but Doc isn't impressed. And while they both share the same ability to keep their cool, Doc does his more with a sense of humor, as showcased by his retort to Ringo's performance. While out riding, Wyatt runs into Josephine and they meet face to face finally. Josephine is the complete opposite of Maddie and Wyatt finds himself a bit smitten even though he knows it's wrong. Remember, complicated. Curly Bill gets loaded up on opium and starts shooting up the street. When the sheriff tries to disarm him, Curly Bill kills him, and suddenly that's the end of Wyatt's peaceful retirement. Wyatt brains Curly Bill and tries to drag him to jail while the rest of the Cowboys circle like vultures. Wyatt draws down on Ike Clanton, and it's a clear reminder that Wyatt didn't stop being Wyatt just because he said he was retired. Doc, Virgil, and Morgan show up to provide backup, and the Cowboys let them have Curly Bill, for now. It's 3 weeks later, and Curly Bill beat the murder charge because witnesses suddenly discovered a deep personal commitment to not getting killed next. Virgil took the mayor up on his offer to become sheriff, and Morgan decided to join him, leaving Wyatt as the odd brother out. Things start to take a turn after Ike loses to Doc in a poker game. Doc collapses and has to be carried out, and Ike gets into it with Virgil, and it causes the Cowboys to declare war on the Earps. Doc's health is getting worse. His doctor tells him that he needs complete rest, but Doc refuses to listen to him and sends him on his way. Kate is in complete denial about his condition, but Doc knows he's dying, but he's not going easy. When more cowboys ride into town, Wyatt decides it's time to put the badge back on and bring out the peacemaker. Word spreads through town that the cowboys are gunning for the Earps and they're waiting behind the OK Corral. Virgil doesn't take kindly to being threatened, so the Earp brothers and Doc Holliday march down there together looking like the four horsemen of the apocalypse, except they're on foot. The two groups face off and it's 6 bad guys against 4 good guys. Everybody stares at each other just waiting for someone to flinch, and all it took was for Doc to wink at Billy Clanton to kick things off. The guns come out and bullets start flying in all directions. Poor Ike wasn't prepared and finds himself unarmed when the shooting starts. Virgil gets wounded in the leg and Morgan takes a bullet to the arm. In return, Wyatt and Doc fill Billy Clanton full of lead while his brother Ike watches from his hiding spot. Ike tries to avenge his brother, but he has no choice but to run away to fight another day. When the shooting is over, the Earps are the victors, and Doc has once again proven that having tuberculosis doesn't make him any less dangerous. After the shootout, the entire town shows up, and Maddie sees Wyatt and Josephine making some serious eye contact with each other, causing her to forego playing the doting wife like the other Earp wives. Wyatt walks away with Doc by his side, knowing that things are never going to be the same in Tombstone. Ringo shows up drunk in the street just as Wyatt and his brothers walk by. He's a bit sore because his team lost at the OK Corral and he wants some payback. Wyatt refuses to give Ringo the fight he wants because there's no money in it. Doc pops out of the shadows with,
"I'm your huckleberry."
Ringo agrees to play along and take on Doc instead because it's a chance to prove which one is the fastest after all. As the two men square off in the middle of the street, Curly Bill steps in and grabs Ringo while Wyatt steps in front of Doc. This battle royale between the two gunslingers will have to wait for another day. It's a dark and stormy night and the cowboys come for their revenge. They ambush Virgil on his way home, leaving him maimed, but he's still able to stumble back into the saloon where Wyatt and Morgan are waiting out the storm. The attack on Virgil makes it personal now. Virgil and the wives are all pissed at Wyatt like this is his fault. Sherman McMaster shows up with a couple of his cowboy brothers and tells Wyatt that the cowboys crossed the line and they throw down their red sashes and pledge to help Wyatt any way they can. Across the street, Morgan is shooting pool when someone shoots him through the window. Wyatt holds him down while the town doctor tries to remove the bullet with his wife screaming in the background. The bullet's too deep and Morgan slowly dies in Wyatt's arms. This is the final straw for Wyatt as he stands there covered in Morgan's blood. He steps out into the rainy streets with his grief and misery on full display for the entire town. Josephine comes running from across the street to somehow console him, but Wyatt's not in the mood and yells at her to leave him alone. Wyatt has Morgan in a casket and the rest of the family loaded up in wagons all wearing black. It's a somber occasion, and then Josephine comes strutting out in front of them wearing something bright and cheerful. Her spite doesn't go unnoticed by Wyatt or Maddie. Their little funeral procession leads them right past Curly Bill, Ringo, and the other cowboys as they revel in the pain they've caused Wyatt. As the Earps ride off, Curly Bill tells Ike to take Frank Stillwell and finish it. That night in Tucson, Wyatt puts Virgil and the women on the train. When Stillwell and Ike lurk at the station for another ambush, Wyatt catches them first, blows Stillwell away, and Ike drops to his knees like the coward that he is. Wyatt could put him down right there, but he has him right where he wants him. It may seem like a spur-of-the-moment thing, but he lets Ike in on a little secret. He opens his coat to show him that he's a federal marshal now, and he's sending Ike out to spread the good word.
You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Now comes Vendetta Wyatt, which is basically regular Wyatt with no more fucks to give. He forms a posse with Doc, Sherman McMasters, Texas Jack Vermillion, and Turkey Creek Jack Johnson, and they ride out more of a tour of retribution than enforcing the law. We then get a montage as the posse tracks down and kills the cowboys one by one. You can tell they're getting really good at it too. It's not a good time to be wearing a red sash in the West. At the river, the cowboys ambush Wyatt and his men from cover on the other side and another group coming up behind them. Curly Bill is feeling pretty good about his chances of winning this battle. That is until Wyatt decides he's had enough. Bullets are flying everywhere and Wyatt gets up and just starts walking out into the water. Curly Bill can't believe his eyes. And since he's just as crazy as Wyatt, he decides to do the same thing and meet Wyatt in the middle. He yells at his men not to shoot Wyatt. He wants to be the one to kill him. Wyatt isn't fazed that Curly Bill wants to play. By the time they get close to each other, Curly Bill is starting to rethink his plan. It's a little too late though, as Wyatt is quicker with his shotgun and drops him like a bad habit. So yeah, he's dead. With Wyatt all alone in the water, Doc and the others jump up to lend some support, and more cowboys suddenly come down with a case of being dead. Anyone left standing retreats to lick their wounds. With Curly Bill dead, Johnny Ringo is now the leader of the Cowboys, and that's actually worse. Ringo's less chaotic and more deliberate, which makes him more dangerous. Doc's poor health finally becomes too much for him, and he's in need of some serious bed rest. Wyatt and his men stop at Henry Hooker's ranch to rest and care for Doc, who is taking a turn for the worse. Josephine shows up briefly, and this time they're happy to see each other. Unfortunately, it's just another case of poor timing. Ringo murders McMasters in order to bait Wyatt into a final showdown. Wyatt accepts, even though his guys think there's no way he can beat Ringo in a straight-up fight. Wyatt has a last heart-to-heart with Doc, looking for some pointers on how to beat Ringo, but Doc is honest and tells him that he can't beat him. Doc is on his deathbed, and this is probably the last time they'll see each other, so Wyatt gives Doc his badge before he leaves. Ringo hears the spurs, expecting Wyatt, and instead gets Doc Holliday stepping out of the shadows. The look on Ringo's face is priceless. Doc showed up because they've been challenging each other the whole movie, and this time Doc is using more than a tin cup. This is probably the best scene in the entire movie. The two gunslingers slowly circle each other, waiting for the right moment to strike first. It's a tense moment as they're just a few feet away from each other, carefully watching for the other to twitch. The duel is over just as quickly as it started, with Doc getting the first and only shot off, hitting Ringo right in the forehead. Doc taunts him as Ringo holds on to what little life he has left until he finally collapses and dies, causing Doc to tell him,
You're no Daisy. You're no Daisy at all.
As Doc kneels down and places his badge on Ringo's chest, Wyatt shows up, not only stunned to see Doc out of bed, but standing victorious over Ringo in a duel. Doc shrugs it off with that dry humor that helps him fend off death for a little while longer. With Ringo dead, the posse is back on the trail of the remaining Cowboys. We then get another montage of the posse killing more members of the Cowboys. Lots of horses, lots of stuntmen falling off those horses, and some trick riding along the way until they finally catch up to Ike Clanton. And once again, Ike shows what a coward he is. Knowing he's done for, he takes off his red sash and throws it to the ground to save his own ass. Doc ends up in Colorado, where he's finally on his deathbed. For real this time. Wyatt shows up for one last visit between old friends. He has seen Doc bounce back many times before, and he's in denial that Doc isn't going to bounce back this time. Doc encourages Wyatt to go after Josephine and live out his life in happiness, which is exactly what Wyatt did. He catches up with Josephine and declares that he doesn't have much in life at this point. All he can give her is the promise to love her forever. That's enough for her because she's not concerned about money or anything because her family's rich. And that's the movie Tombstone. Wyatt Earp is a legend of the Old West, so it wasn't surprising that Hollywood wanted to make a movie about him. In fact, they made 2 movies about him. Tombstone came out first, followed 6 months later by Wyatt Earp starring Kevin Costner. People are either fans of Tombstone or Wyatt Earp. I personally prefer Tombstone because of the amazing portrayal of Doc Holliday by Val Kilmer. Which movie do you prefer, Tombstone or Wyatt Earp? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, drop your favorite scene in the comments, and subscribe for more retro cinema every week. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you on the next Back to the Feature.